Financial institutions continue to invest in mobile and digital channels, but it seems that no matter how much they invest, without moving to the cloud, they'll be limited by their legacy core infrastructure. American Banker asked banking executives to name their greatest challenge, and topping the list at 59% was legacy infrastructure. It's obvious that financial institutions really can no longer ignore the need to revolutionize their core. A modern core banking platform provides the foundation to innovate products and services such as embedded finance, to meet consumer demand for hyper-personalization, and to reduce operating costs. I'd like to welcome you all to our podcast, Bank to the Future, hosted by American Banker and sponsored by NTT DATA. I'm Lisa Joyce, guest host, and today I'm excited that I'm joined with two bank modernization experts. We have Madhu Magadi from NTT DATA, and then we have Brad Steele, who is with us from Thought Machine. I'd like to give each of our speakers an opportunity to introduce themselves and give you a little background on their experience. Madhu, perhaps we could start with you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thanks, American Banker, for hosting us. It's a great honor to be in this forum, and I'm coming here multiple times. Madhu Magadi, 30 plus years in the industry, focused on bank modernization, technology debt reductions, deliver hyper customer personalization, and future-proof investments. That's my background. Over to Brad.
Yeah, thank you, Madhu, and Lisa and American Banker for allowing us to be part of this. Very excited. My name's Brad Steele. I wear two hats here at Thought Machine. I am the general manager for Thought Machine in the Americas, and I'm also the global managing director for our partnership and alliances organization. I've been with Thought Machine for 2 years. I spent the prior decade in the cloud at AWS, and then about 18 years in banking with a handful of different US-based banks prior.
Great. Well, thank you both for joining us. We're going to get into how cloud-native modern core solutions really provide the foundation for realizing the bank of the future. Let's talk a little bit about what the bank of the future actually looks like and how migrating from a legacy core infrastructure really allows financial institutions to get to that bank of the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. What a fitting way to start, right? Bank to the future. A decade from now, in my view, banks will be unrecognizable as the digital advancements redefine the bank of the future. Financial institutions operationalize their modernization strategies to align, changing customer expectation, embrace emerging technologies, and then also adapt new business models. Some of the C-suite executives and board members have already experienced early success in propelling into the future. Now, when you look at FI market leaders, recognize cloud, when you take cloud, it is just not technology. It is probably a destination for banks and financial institutions to store data, applications, and access advanced techniques that essentially gives them the differentiation, also unmatched speed and agility. So a lot has been said on legacy core, but I'm not going to water it down. There is a uniqueness of legacy where failures were rare, though changing legacy to meet new demands are difficult, and also ability to release features frequently, scale on-demand infrastructure up and down, as well as execute on merger and acquisition quickly. These usually designed for reliability rather than open architecture. So that now has become a new requirement to remain relevant in the marketplace. And also some of these needs, a new breed of cloud-native core banking systems has emerged in past few years. These systems leverage cloud and open architecture, and in some cases have advanced architecture to make frequent, less than 2 weeks, less than 90 days feature releases. Some of these are also pushing the envelope on bringing contextual customer experience, offering innovative and reasonable pricing schemes for core banking replacements as an affordable option. And perhaps most importantly, they are uncompromising on the core tenet of faultless banking, risk-managed banking, and transaction processing. Over to Brad.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just for context, because I think it's important, Thought Machine, we have our primary product is called Vault Core, and Vault Core is a hyper configurable, cloud native, cloud agnostic, real-time core banking platform. So when we think about the bank of the future, we're really looking at it from the perspective of how technology will support the needs of a bank's future customers. And already, as we all know, that digitally native customers expect much more personalized, innovative products and services from their banks that they've historically gotten and that they're getting from all their other service providers. And today, legacy cores are really a major bottleneck to this ability to innovate and the ability to meet customer needs. And in terms of a bank being able to meet the needs of its customers, there's already a really widening gap between those banks that have embraced the shift from legacy core infrastructure to the cloud and to just a migration to the cloud overall, and those who haven't. So from a technical perspective, future-looking banks that migrate from legacy core infrastructure to a cloud-native solution transition from a very rigid, inflexible product platform to a much more configurable, flexible product development process. And this flexibility and configurability really enables a few really key things for banks. One, it enables product differentiation, personalization, and faster time to market with new products. We see that as a future state of bank is the ability to be in complete control of their product roadmap without having to rely on their core vendors and having the ability to rapidly build what customers actually want. Two, the bank of the future, we see with a modern core platform, having the ability to really leverage real-time analytics and capabilities thanks to the real-time nature and real-time data streaming of a modern core. And a real-time core really enables a bank to see around the corners and better anticipate their customer needs, rather than just being reactive, kind of know what the customer wants before they ask and be more agile and responsive and engaging with customers. And then lastly, through an API-first architecture with a modern core, a modern cloud-native core really enables faster and easier integration with best-in-class third-party technology solutions rather than forcing banks to use solutions that their core provider has prescribed for them, which is often the case with the legacy providers. So we envision the bank of the future embodying those attributes.
Great, Madhu and Brad, as you described the bank of the future, it seems pretty obvious that legacy is a bottleneck, as you said. And I think a lot of financial institutions really realize that, and they understand the value of a modern platform-based core. But they put it off. Core migration was expensive and time-consuming. What's changed?
So yeah, focusing on your question of what's changed, a lot's changed. We think there's a much better understanding among bank executives, boards of directors, line of business owners, that there's a greater risk today in not doing anything or doing nothing, and that there's a real urgency to modernizing. There's this increasing letting go of this kind of it's good enough mental model that has really paralyzed banks for so long. There's a much more prevalent sense among bank decision makers that it's not a matter of if, but rather when, and that when is now. So that's something that's really changed, I would say, in the last few years. Two, the ecosystem of experts and key tech vendors around modern core has really evolved and matured over the last few years. It's very different today than even a couple of years ago. At Thought Machine, for example, we have over 1,100 individuals certified from our partners like NTT who are able to help with implementing Vault, which is our platform, and building the necessary ecosystem of integrations to support it. We've also got dozens of critical tech vendors like Salesforce and Backbase and nCino and Zafin and many others who are embracing cloud-native core solutions and really making themselves interoperable with our modern core. And then we've got cloud partners like Google Cloud and AWS who are aggressively embracing and emphasizing the benefits of modern core in the cloud. Say 5+ years ago, when I was still at AWS, the notion of core in the cloud seemed preposterous. I mean, it seemed like a real long shot, but the cloud providers are really helping to make it a very reasonable mainstream decision. I think there's a real evolution of models of transformation to core in the cloud. It's not all about a bet the bank lift and shift sort of migration. There are better and lower risk ways of adopting a modern cloud native core because of the flexible architecture that give a bank an opportunity to really test and learn for a period of time. And we'll be talking about that more later. And just very last thing I wanted to highlight, and maybe this is the most important thing, that what's changed is there are now large tier one banks who are already blazing a trail to making a shift to cloud native modern core, like JP Morgan Chase here in the US, Standard Chartered, and Intesa Sanpaolo in Europe, and many others. So that trail is being blazed by some of the big guys, and I think that's a massive change.
Very well said, Brad. I think nice way to set it up, the mindset, right? The mindset has changed. And also the awareness at an executive leadership level that has changed. Then also, market pressures, the end customers are more knowledgeable. And we bring this to bear with our banking 4 to the power of X modernization approach. So we essentially focusing on better customer experiences, modernizing and future-proofing operations, reducing costs, mitigating risks, and also supporting retention loyalty models. Another aspect is most of the business model is becoming customer-centric, and technology architecture is more focused on creating target operating models or regenerative business operations. When you focused on that, the number one obstacle in the way of bank modernization is, as Brad stated, the legacy technology platforms or the infrastructure. And adding applications to support business functionality on top of that legacy becomes a true inhibition and also adds to the complexity and risks. Then you have to deal with integration issues, you have to deal with upgrade headaches and reliance on third party. When you look at legacy provides reliability, but digitizing the customer experience, which is because you are now dealing with a new set of customers, Gen X, Gen G, new Gen. So there is on-demand expectation, on-demand ratification, offers management. They're all embedded in the life cycle of a customer, whether it is retail or a corporate. And then also decomposing legacy platforms, moving into modern platform can overcome some of the challenges, increasing speed to market, feature enhancements, and then also drastically reduce technology debt, which becomes a both financial and technology complexity, integration risks through eliminating that through API-centered or API-first approaches. This is, in my mind, are the few tenets that has changed, Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like things have obviously changed quite a bit and only in a few years. But it sounds like the planets are aligned, right? Now's the time to start moving to the cloud. How would you suggest, though, that financial institutions get started? I mean, where do they begin migration? And can you describe perhaps some best practices and common patterns that they follow?
So every financial institution has a different modernization strategy. Essentially, if you look at top 10, they are in some way already executing on this modernization strategy. Based on our experience, what we see 5 kind of tenets or components, which are non-negotiable imperatives. They are like, the first one is digitize the core. See, digitize the core future-proofs financial institutions' infrastructure, allowing them to remain competitive and attain operational excellence in a digital-first ecosystem, which is very important. The second one is embrace a modern operating model. Just an example, the AI-led production support, banks' power-boosting transformation strategy injects intelligence and digital capabilities into their operations, where some of the shift left or eliminate the noise, those type of things. Now you can have systems and platforms learn and bring that richness in resolution, in increased customer experience and better decisions. Third one, monetize and extract real value from data. Financial institutions use enterprise data from the core and all ancillary systems to support banking domain-driven marketplace. So this is very important because you have a very rich business rules, and you have very rich, diverse product set. When you combine these two, it becomes very powerful kind of a weapon to capture the market share and also reduce risks. The fourth one is focus on customer experience and persona-led customer journeys. A digitally connected ecosystem will enable customers to lead their journey and choose how they interact with the bank. So a few years ago, this was the other way. Bank had prescribed certain way of interaction and customer used to follow it. Now, customers are dictating that journey, how and when they want to interact with the bank. And the last one is support growth initiatives with constant innovation. Now, if you look at it, most banks release features 50% sales in their launch time. Financial institutions are quick to evaluate new products and services, distribution channels, markets, and they bring design thinking by combining entities and their interaction and what to follow next, all in that single transaction or experience session. This is how you would start the journey for modernization.
Yeah, I'll just expand on that a little bit, and certainly, obviously, from a core platform perspective, so it's a good flow. Migrating to core is a very large and complex process that must be really carefully managed if a bank's going to mitigate risk. And our advice is to take time to really think about the right approach and create a central team of experts responsible for making decisions, aligning stakeholders, creating the right operating model, and then also working with the right partners like an NTT. But to be honest, most of the conversations that we have with banks who are undergoing this transformation and contemplating core modernization, those conversations aren't really about migration per se, certainly not this lift and shift, big bang style migration because of the inherent risk with it and the complexity of it. As I mentioned earlier, it's just alternative, less risky ways of moving your core to the cloud and getting going with a cloud native solution. When it comes to Vault Core from Thought Machine, we talk about 3 deployment patterns: migration, coexistence, and digital greenfield. So this is getting back to your question, how do they get started? So thinking about what's the right strategic approach for the bank. From a migration perspective, I'll very quickly just highlight the multiple patterns. You do have the big bang, single migration event, all in-scope data is migrated in one go. And certainly this is higher risk than other strategies because it's consolidated into a single event. You've got a phased migration where you run the new core alongside a legacy core. Data is moved in chunks, and you likely have multiple migrations over a period of time and a longer path or time frame to go live. And then there's a parallel run where you keep target data in sync with your legacy core for a period of time and then tranche the cutover dates. So you run the new core in sort of a shadow state until product behavior is proven and can see that the new core is behaving just like the old core. And that's sort of the lower risk strategy. And then many banks actually will choose sort of a new to bank go live approach, if you will, before migrating. So this means rather than coupling together your back book accounts with newly opened accounts, a bank might set up a like for like target product on the new core and then only migrate new to bank accounts around that target product to the new core, which provides this time of approving time on a smaller population of accounts or customers before migrating all their back book accounts for that product. The second approach is coexistence. This is where you create a new product for a new customer segment, perhaps launch that new product on the new core, test and learn for a period of time, and then maybe gradually migrate other products and accounts over to the new core. We characterize this as a progressive renovation. And this is a very, very common pattern that we see from many of our clients. It's a very common discussion of our clients. And then the last pattern would be around digital greenfield. This is a brand new digital bank built from scratch, targeting a new market segment or geography. And again, we've got a bunch of clients who have gone that approach, large tier 1s, tier 2s who have created digital greenfield. So a bank needs to think about what approach it wants to take. But all these approaches I just mentioned are made much easier by virtue of a cloud native platform. And our platform in particular, where we have a universal product engine and hyper configurable smart contract framework, which enables banks to create hundreds of variations of products or design any product they want without affecting the underlying platform code or relying on the vendor to do it for them. It also gives the banks the ability to replicate existing backbook products in exacting terms, which is a very, very unique attribute of our platform.
Great. Thank you both. Yeah, it's great to know that there are some roadmaps out there for getting started and that there's choices. Financial institutions can approach it however best works for them. My next question is about some of the most compelling use cases for core modernization. Perhaps we can talk some of the details of what it could actually look like in a bank.
Sure. I'll start off with that. I'm just going to quickly highlight a few of our clients, and I can't go into too much detail just for confidentiality, but I'll share what is public. And this is more about digital transformation using a modern core, with core modernization being a critical part of it. And that's how I'm thinking about these. So one is Arvest Bank. Arvest is a very innovative, forward-thinking $30 billion community bank out of Arkansas. And they're undergoing a multi-year transformation journey to replace legacy infrastructure and to build differentiated solutions for their customers. And this is started by using Vault Core from Thought Machine, hosted on Google Cloud. So Arvest has started their multi-year modernization and transformation journey by first launching an innovative equipment finance lending product, solving a significant pain point for many of their business customers. And this is just the first of many new solutions they'll be building on Thought Machine to support their customers. The second example, and this is moving into larger bank territory, and this would be in Europe, is Intesa Sanpaolo. Intesa is Italy's largest bank by assets. They're the top 30 largest bank in the world, with over 3,000 branches and 13 million plus customers. So big bank. They've started their multi-year modernization journey by initially using Thought Machine as a test bed for new technology through its digital greenfield bank, which is just launched. It's called Izzy Bank. And Izzy Bank is completely unshackled from legacy technology constraints. And the purpose is to really meet the needs of their digital-only clients with highly personalized products. So this will be a means of testing capabilities for a potential migration of Intesa Sanpaolo's entire customer base at the right time. And the last one I'll just highlight is JP Morgan Chase. So they've made a very bold decision to essentially re-platform an entire consumer customer segment onto Vault Core. And I can't share details, but this is the first major US bank to do this, and it's supported at the highest levels of JP Morgan Chase leadership. But this decision is part of an overall cloud strategy for the bank, with an emphasis on their ability to be way more agile and upgrade the customer experience to new levels using cloud-native technologies.
Very well said. I think it's quite heavy-hitting examples, as you see, Lisa. And also, if you look at the modernization spend in next 5 to 7 years, is crossing almost 500 billion. A number of agencies, market agencies have proved this by top 100 financial institutions globally. Now, modernization is a complex problem, but right now the choices are there, as you rightly said, and then also offers a lot more opportunity than in the past because the underlying technology is much more mature and powerful. And it was before when we started our digital journey like 5-6 years ago. And some of the cutting edge and relevant examples are hyper-personalization driving contextual customer experience. Extremely important because now if you see top 3 US banks that we are working with, we were able to, in their wealth management space and the small business area, bring the contextual customer journey, which has increased them to capture 150% of the market share and move their position into top 3 from top 5, reducing and eliminating technology debt to enable speed enterprise. This is ongoing, and this will be still as technology improves, the technology debt also becomes less and less because you have options of applying this, simplifying the integration complexities with APIs, unlocking increased efficiency and productivity. See, now no longer you have open architecture and you decompose your business service into a microservices architecture, which drives your APIs, either data as an API or experience API or platform API or process APIs. Right? You have that option now, and delivering secure business tenets while future-proofing the investments. Extremely important use case in my mind. And also net, all it leads to total cost of ownership, lowering or reducing it so that the time to market and speed KPIs becomes much more delivering return on common tangible equity.
Excellent. Those are wonderful examples. Thanks for sharing those. And it's pretty exciting that these use cases are happening today as we speak. My next question, though, is about risk. And Brad, you had mentioned risk earlier on. Obviously, that's a concern in any transformation that involves business and technology. I was hoping that we could dive in a little deeper into how financial institutions can mitigate risk as they modernize their infrastructure and their ecosystem.
Madhu, do you want to go first, or you want me to kick off?
Maybe I'll give an industry perspective,
Yeah,
Brad?
that's a good idea. Perfect.
Yeah. So the way we think about risk and controls is changing rapidly. Several banks being under the scrutiny of a regulator globally has made it, and also COVID helped incredibly. Though COVID has other negative impacts, but the pandemic helped to focus inward, to bring that inward focus. And it is a phenomena. I strongly subscribe to the notion that adoption of these technologies will accelerate because people are starting now to learn a big lessons, basically at the board and executive committee around the mindset, which I was talking earlier, unlocking and opening up things, right? The way we think about risk and controls. If you look at last 2-3 years, when you look at lessons learned from consent orders, management requiring immediate attentions, self-identified audit issues, and non-financial risks, leveraging business value of technology works. And also, more importantly, a regulator understands it. And so now we are in an acceleration mode, which in my mind has a lot of organizational issues, change and release management, how we do it, and how we get things done. The industry has been stating that banks need to change the way they work to be more agile, pushing technology up the business value chain and getting closer to the front line than sit in the back. Now it is really happening, and their greater urgency, desire, and spending to make it happen is emerging as a top priority.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned a little bit about this before, but what we're finding from many of the banks we're working with is that the cost and the risk of not doing something is perhaps greater than staying on a legacy platform. And the cost savings of a cloud solution, along with the agility and resiliency that you gain in the cloud, are just too big to ignore any longer. So as we look at a bank, or we talk to banks that are contemplating core modernization as part of their transformation strategy, we recommend a bank think about a handful of things to help mitigate risk. First, think about what people capabilities are available to support the journey. Tech talent in banks is a big risk, and it's a big change agent. And using a cloud-native modern core, it really requires tech talent with cloud engineering principles and modern programming languages in their knowledge base. And this is a scarce resource in many banks. Banks traditionally have had sort of non-engineering friendly cultures. So we do hear about this as a concern from many banks. Do they have the right tech talent in place? Over 80% of banks are still using programming languages that are 25 to 40 years old, diminishing pool of talent to pull from with COBOL expertise. So this is a risk that needs to be thought about. And in a way, I don't know if you call this chicken or egg, but in going with Thought Machine, it helps kind of start spinning that flywheel of talent, but you got to make sure you have the right people in place to get it going. So that's something we see discussed quite a bit. The second is really think about what's the right program structure necessary to achieve this core modernization. Think about the operating model that will be needed to run it and function it effectively. We talked about considering the most appropriate deployment model, ideally sort of testing and learning, doing a progressive phase renovation versus a bet the bank sort of lift and shift move. And then we highly recommend a bank work with a partner like NTT to assess all aspects of the business that will be impacted with moving to a cloud native platform, because there's a lot of interdependencies and spaghetti systems that tie together. So it's very important to have that evaluation.
Right, exactly. Madhu and Brad, you guys have done an amazing job of outlining really a lot of the benefits and advantages of moving to a modern core platform in the cloud, but also lots of information about how folks can get started and move toward this. I have one final question for you all before we wrap up. And, as we talked today, it kind of struck me that it sounds like core modernization really shifts financial institutions from a more reactive technology strategy to a proactive one. How do you all see that playing out as a competitive advantage?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. Obviously, we see it as a massive competitive advantage that plays out here. With a modern cloud native core, a bank's going to gain a significant competitive advantage because they can finally regularly use transaction, product, and account data properly and efficiently to better understand their customers and to anticipate customer needs and to proactively get in front of customers at the right times with the right products. There's also massive competitive advantage in being able to take control of and own the product roadmap and product development process and innovate and build new, highly personalized and differentiated products fast. and to do it without having to rely on the core vendor. Those are the areas that I think where you're going to gain the most competitive advantage, but not to mention lower operating costs over time of just running in the cloud.
I completely agree with that. Those are the competitive advantage. Just to add few more. See, when you look at banking industry has been undergoing these technology shifts that offer immense potential for improving profitability and customer experience. Moving from closed systems to open ecosystems. It is very, very important aspects of it. And in each bank, it manages all the work, providing services directly to its customer towards a model of operating as part of larger ecosystems, bringing fintechs to sharing the risks, bringing big tech, fintech, those type of things will help bank to lower the total cost of ownership. Then downstreams to upstream. Previously, they were offering customer journey as an end at the end of customer journey. Now, because of the customer-centric model in the business model itself, now it is in the forefront of customer journey. Batch to real time, which Brad and I alluded earlier, data and decisioning are moving to real time and on demand, right? Rather than waiting for information to be pulled from predetermined batches. Real-time data ingestion and automatic updates of modular components, for example, asset value reporting and analytics related to it, are significantly upgrading the experience of a customer and relationship managers. The important aspect is bringing the entire organizational intelligence on that servicing that customer in that brief period of interaction is very, very key. Reporting to advanced analytics, right? Banks are starting to unlock more than one of their most valuable assets, proprietary data on customer. Requirements discovery, product selection, portfolio analysis, and service delivery are becoming more intelligent and personalized. Then when you do all of this, you have to do it with zero trust model or perimeter security to zero trust model. You say that I don't trust anybody, but I will verify. So that kind of brings the regulatory resilience in their operations. And one size fits all to a customized offering. Until recently, banks were expected customers to choose from few basic product offerings. Now it is the other way. You create products and services based on customer needs, what you see regularly, what you see from their behavior, purchase patterns, decision-making, risk appetite, all of these. So therefore, establishes the competitive advantage for a bank, and market is very large enough to each one to have their own market share and clients.
Lisa, I want to add one quick thing too, because we on this question, it was mostly around, you characterize it as you're moving from a reactive strategy to a proactive one. Fully agree, and we both just shared our thoughts on that. There's an element also of this modern cloud native core enabling you to react very, very quickly in the face of unexpected or sudden changes in the market, which we've all experienced quite a bit over the last 3 years, where there's just these rapid changes, whether it's a change in consumer law or a spike in interest rates, or even something new like a new government-sponsored lending program, like PPP, as we saw during the COVID pandemic. So having a flexible, highly configurable core and cloud just enables a bank to really react and move fast when market conditions or requirements change fast. That's another example of how a bank's going to benefit strategically, and you can turn those into proactive strategy as well.
Right. Excellent. Thanks for adding that, Brad. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. I want to thank our guests. That's Madhu Magadi with NTT DATA and Brad Steele with Thought Machine. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And on behalf of NTT DATA and American Banker, I want to thank you all for listening and have a great day.